and welcome to Founder Freedom from Hustler to CEO, the podcast built for e commerce entrepreneurs and small business owners who are ready to work less, earn more, and scale smarter. Today, we have an inspiring guest, Lauren Cain, founder and CEO of Elm Dirt, a company dedicated to transforming waste into vital nutrients for our soil. Lauren's entrepreneurial journey is both personal and innovative. Motivated by a desire to create a safer environment for her children, she ventured into worm composting upon discovering her daughter playing in the backyard soil. This initiative led to the development of Elm Dirt's flagship product, Plant Juice, a biological liquid fertilizer designed to enhance plant health naturally. In this episode, we're going to explore the science and the benefits of worm composting and its impact on soil health, the challenges and triumphs of establishing an eco-friendly business in the agricultural sector, and Lauren's insights on sustainable practices and the future of organic gardening. From garden beds to global impact, if sustainability sparks your interest, this episode delivers the kind of forward-thinking ideas you won't want to miss. So let's dive in and discover how Lauren Cain and Elm Dirt are nurturing the earth one compost at a time. Welcome, Lauren.
Well, thanks for having me, Stephen.
Yeah, no problem. Can you tell us a little bit about Elm Dirt's value proposition?
Yeah, so we make and sell our own organic fertilizer that's like superfoods and probiotics for plants. And so they're safe for people, pets, and pollinators.
That's awesome. And what inspired you to create the Elm Dirt brand?
Well, as you mentioned in the intro, I have a daughter who was a dedicated dirt eater. She was about 6 months old, and we're sitting in our own backyard as my son is playing in our grass and our dogs are running around. And I'm just sitting there looking at all the weed killer pesticides and fertilizers that they're touching in our own backyard, the stuff that we put down.
Right.
And I was so nervous about what that would do for their health, their long-term health, and how that would affect them. And so I set about finding a better, different way.
That's awesome. Those are real concerns today, especially as we're more and more educated about how commercialism is maybe not so healthy.
Yeah, and especially in the lawn care and farm space, we hear a lot about glyphosate and Roundup, and so there's a lot of big concerns about how it's affecting our bodies, even if you're just walking barefoot on it.
Absolutely. I've been eating farm to table for more than 30 years just because of that thought.
It's such a good habit to be in.
Yeah, it's good that I could do it, right?
Yeah.
When you were thinking about Elm Dirt, what major challenge or gap did you see in the market of the space that you were trying to get into that led to create the business?
Yeah, besides getting outside of the world of synthetic chemicals, then getting into the natural fertilizers and pesticides and everything that's out there, there was a big problem in, does it actually work? And then how fast does it work? So a lot of organic and natural fertilizers are very slow. It takes years before they break down in the soil. And that's not an acceptable replacement for synthetic fertilizer, and it can't work really in conjunction with synthetic fertilizer. So that was a big gap. And then the other ones that we were also watching, you had to use it immediately. You had to refrigerate them, and we were like, this isn't going to work. So we set about having a shelf-stable product that people could buy and use just like a synthetic fertilizer, whether you're a home gardener or a farmer, in a landscaper even. We wanted it to be easy and simple for you to use.
That's pretty cool. So that's really how you found the broken part of the niche, is making a product that is usable for everybody and you don't have to wait 7 years to get your organic designation from the government.
Yes, it's such a long process for our organic farmers to be able to get that designation. Regenerative farmers, while they're not organic, still embrace our products because it helps improve like their soil health and make more nutrient dense food. So there's still a lot of benefits even if you're not wholly organic.
That's great. So in your opinion, how would you say that your company solves those problems better than the existing alternatives?
Yeah, so that was quite a journey. In 2021, we developed our own fertilizer formulas. And so we developed everything in-house, and it was a lot of trial and error of research and testing and figuring out what worked and what didn't work, and then packaging it into bottles and seeing if we could make it shelf stable. And so we still have bottles that are sitting on the shelf from 2021
Mm,
and then are out there waiting, even though California won't let us have longer than a year shelf life on our products. We're still testing longer than that. So
right.
that's been quite a journey to make sure we're delivering for our customers and then delivering time and time again as we make our products, because I'm solving a personal problem, but I am also solving hundreds of thousands of other people's personal problems too.
Sure, sure. That's kind of a lot of weight on your shoulders. And your mention of that one state is interesting because they've kind of spearheaded that whole space in terms of organic farming, and that lovely 7-year rating on the government probably came out of the practices from that state.
Yes,
But
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, they're a big stickler for everything. And we were fortunate enough to be able to get our California organic certification, which is one of the strictest organic certifications in the
Sure.
country.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, so we appreciate their strictness because they've embraced what we do and how we do it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. In thinking about your potentially new customers, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about what your company does?
Yeah, in especially the fertilizer space, it's very new to kind of disruption of what we're doing. So it's basically been owned by the big four
Hmm.
agricultural fertilizer companies that's out there. I mean, y'all know which ones I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And we've been over the last 100 years using NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium as the standards for fertilizer industry. Before that, we didn't care. It was after World War II that fertilizers actually came to the United States and we started using them in agriculture. But before that, we didn't care what NPK was. We really focused on the health of soils. And so a lot of our preconceived notions that we're kind of fighting against here is that you have to have a certain number of NPK in order for your plants to thrive. And that's the only number that really matters to your plants.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get that a lot.
Yeah.
But the trick is we use living microbes that are a really quintessential part of soil health. It's what makes organics faster to plants and more readily available for plants to use. So it's a fast acting fertilizer. It's what develops the soil health. So it's good year after year. We're not seeing huge dust storms blowing from across the state of Kansas, which is where I am.
Ah.
And we hear it time and again of we need at least a 50 NPK or a 20 NPK or a 10. And what the interesting thing is, 50% of that NPK is going to wash away after you apply it. So most people don't even need that high in the first place. And
Mm.
your soil already has NPK in it that the microbes will release as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an upward battle. We're fighting it every day.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story. Of the more inventors in the chemical space that I've been talking to lately, everybody's faced with those battles of fighting the current system, not fighting, but trying to change the methodology of the way that we look at things and grade things today. It's
Yeah.
super important. You're doing really good work for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's really nice to hear it because it's always an upward battle when you're trying to change the way we look at things, especially when it's been done for decades.
Yeah, decades, right? Since World War II, because it was just after that where, commercialization of food just really took off,
Yes.
right? We always say around here, if you can't identify where its mama came from, then you probably shouldn't eat it, right?
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time that if it didn't grow on the ground or grow on your plant, you shouldn't eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you share either like a customer success story that you might have enjoyed or maybe a bigger win on a mission level for Elm Dirt?
Yeah, we've had so many across the years. It's been really kind of one of the joys of what we do is we'll get hundreds of customers who will respond to us of, oh my gosh, I didn't believe until I tried it on this plant or this land, or I put it on my compost and I saw it accelerate my compost. And
Mm.
I just kind of saw the magic of what your fertilizer does. And we've seen it on farms and we've seen it in home gardeners. But one of my favorite stories is from actually here in Kansas City. This guy was or still is a championship rose grower. So he's got like 80 plus rose bushes in his yard. And he used to, when he was not retired, because he is retired now,
Yeah.
he used to take all the roses, and he worked in a restaurant business, and he would take the roses and he'd put them on every single table for his customers. So he's been growing roses for 30 to 40 years now. And
Wow.
yeah, a long time with all these rose bushes. I mean, he takes really good care of them because he wants them to look their
To
best, and he
bloom.
wants as many as he can share. And he started doing rose championships. When you go into a rose championship, not only do your roses have to look nice, they also have to be like symmetrically perfect. They have to have the right number of leaves, and you can only have one rose per stem unless you're doing one that's got to have like an exact number of roses on the stem. And so it's very
Gosh.
particular. You can't have any bugs eating it or anything. And he had come to me a couple of years ago, and he'd had a neighbor that had sprayed a weed killer really close to his garden, and he'd gotten weed killer drift. So that's where the wind picks it up and drifts it over, in his case, to his roses, and then started to kill them.
He had to be beside himself.
He was, and he'd had it happen in the news, and he'd lost almost all of his rose bushes at that time. And so we were on a mission to save his rose bushes and hopefully make sure that he didn't lose as many as he did back then, for sure.
Right.
And just make him as healthy as possible. So we set out with a plan to strengthen his roots and to increase the amount of organics in his soil and the microbes in there, because microbes also will help boost plants' immune systems and just make them overall stronger. And so that was May when he came to talk to me. And in July, he came back and he's like, Lauren, I only lost 2 rose bushes out of the 80 that I have right now. And the last time this happened, I wasn't even able to enter any championships that year because it had like twisted leaves or twisted buds, and it didn't look good enough for a championship. So then he's like, everything looks great now. I have a championship coming up in August. I am ready to enter it. And we're like, okay, Ed, this is great. Let's see what happens. And he went on, he won 9 out of 13 best in show. He won over 70 ribbons from that championship.
Wow.
And so he went from being almost devastated about losing his rose bushes to going and winning a championship in the same year within months.
That's fantastic. I mean, just, that touch for that one customer, he's going to talk about you forever.
We were so happy to be able to help him. And I mean, even if you're not entering championships, it's just fun to hear the stories of people who made it easier for them to grow what they want to grow.
Yeah, that is so cool. I just started rose gardening myself, and I had no idea there was such a championship type of situation for the rose growers.
Yeah.
I will get there.
You should at least go see one and just see the amounts of different types of roses that they grow.
Yeah.
They all talk to each other, and they're a bunch of fun to talk to.
I'm sure they are. I'll have to come down to Kansas City.
Yes.
It'll be fun. Well, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as far as looking forward in your industry, what kind of trends would you say that are shaping the future of the industry for your company?
Yeah, there's a lot of change coming. So not only are there some global effects that are affecting fertilizer supply, but there is also a push to reduce our dependence on synthetic fertilizers because of the ecological damage. In Florida, where my mom is, there's red tide, which is caused by the nitrogen fertilizer runoff getting into our waterways, and then it kills all the fish and it ruins their tourism industry, and they're losing millions of dollars every year because of red tide. And so Florida is one of the states we're working with because our products don't contribute to it, because we are a microbe-based fertilizer and we don't have that high NPK. And we're working with others because algae blooms are everywhere.
Right.
And the fertilizer runoff is wild as to how far it affects not just the algae blooms, but here in Kansas, we have towns in western Kansas from the farmers that are applying fertilizer that their drinking water is too high in nitrates, and they don't have nitrate treatment plants that can then filter it out. drink it. And it's affecting every part of life here in the United States. And so we see a big push in the industry to find ways to hold up that nitrogen faster, which microbes can also do that. They can work with synthetic fertilizer to lock it in so it's not running off into our waterways, or be a complete synthetic fertilizer replacement depending on the need of the area.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, interesting. And I hear and read a little bit about that from where I am up by the Great Lakes, because our water source is really precious.
Yes.
We're sharing it a lot now. But yeah, that's a really cool, I guess, issue to chase and try to continue to solve, because it's going to take decades to turn it around, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got fertilizer runoff, animal stuff, runoff, byproducts of animals.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great to see all the different areas that are working together, because it's a nonpartisan issue that's affecting all sorts of different areas. And so it's something that we can all group together to be able to work to fix.
Right. That's awesome. So, with that in mind, and thinking about your fellow business owners who might be in the same niche or just might be thinking about similar things on an eco-friendly scale for their own businesses, would you have any advice for these types of business owners that are getting started? What kind of challenges, potholes?
Yeah, yeah. Well, business ownership's a wild ride. We have so many stories on the backside of things we've gone through in our last 5 years in growing from a worm farm to a fertilizer manufacturer that we are today. For anyone who's starting out, definitely stick with it. Research your customer, know what your customer's pain points are, and how to communicate best with your customer. And it's extremely important, whether you're talking directly to consumer or to farmers or to box stores. We've done it all, and they all have a different way of talking. So you gotta know what your customer needs and communicate that well. And then the other side is focus on cash flow and keep going.
Yeah. The two sharp knives.
Yes.
I mean, knowing your customer is often talked about in the marketing space, but almost never practiced.
Yeah.
Very few companies can do it themselves, and then the ones that do, they get it right, and then they can multiply it as quickly as it will grow, right? Because
Yeah.
you're in a space where you're trying to change the way that people think about things. So you're trying to create a market. So that's a little bit slower, a little bit more intentional, as opposed to, creating a widget to compete with somebody else's widget, as an example.
Yeah, exactly. But they all have the same sort of things with needing to know what your customer is. And we're a small business. We do all of our own advertising in-house, and being able to hear what the customer is saying, or which ads they're responding to, which emails they're responding to, and taking that feedback and then applying it to what we're doing next really helps us maximize our time, maximize our efforts, and make a bigger impact for our customers as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's next for Elm Dirt?
More, like you mentioned, it's a slow
More.
process when we're trying to communicate what we're trying to do that's different, and everything we talked about of the growth that's coming in our industry.
Yeah.
Lots more of what we do, and more growth in all the different areas. We started directly to consumers online, and now we're starting to get into retail stores, because a lot of people still only shop in garden centers. You go and pick up your plants, and you want to get everything you need for your plants at a garden center. And so that's a lot of what we're working on next.
Yeah, good for you. I mean, garden centers for me, and I'm just going to say my age out loud, I'm 60. It's like a social thing, right? Because you could go there, get your coffee, meet your neighborhood buddies, and, everybody picks up a few things just about every weekend if you go there that often.
Yeah. Well, and you see these cute little plants, especially this time of year, and it's like, I want this. Now, how do I take care of it?
Right. Yeah. So how can listeners get involved with Elm Dirt? Where can they find you? List all your socials and your website.
Yeah. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Elm Dirt. So go talk to us, comment on our post, message us. We're there. Also, our website is www.elmdirt.com. And feel free to email us, message us. We want to hear from our customers. We want to know how we can best work with you. If you own a store, feel free to reach out as well. We're more than happy to help you get started with us as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Stephen, for having me. This is so much fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I enjoyed your company. So we're wrapping up our chat here with Lauren Cain of Elm Dirt, an entrepreneur who not just growing plants, but growing a cleaner, greener future for us all. From backyard worm farms to nationwide distribution, Lauren's journey reminds us that impactful change often starts at home, with a shovel in hand and a mission in mind. If today's episode sparked your curiosity or green thumb, be sure to check out Elm Dirt's products, follow their story, jump in the conversation, and don't forget to share this episode with anyone that you know who's passionate about gardening, sustainability, or purpose-driven entrepreneurship. Until next time, keep growing, keep innovating, and keep turning dirt into something extraordinary.